Welcome to Module 1. In this course, we will learn how decluttering is life changing, learn the purpose of our homes, break down common decluttering hurdles, learn our clutter tendency, and practice some clutter free affirmations to take with us on our journey. Let's begin with Lesson 1 and uncover how decluttering will change your life. In this lesson, you will learn the ways in which decluttering will change your life from a mental perspective, a physical perspective, a monetary perspective, and a social perspective. I want to start with a story. What I desired more than anything was for life to feel more like it did when I was a kid, particularly summers as a child. Back when the schedule was flexible, the days felt long in the best way. I'd spend the morning playing and then head to the pool all afternoon. In fact, I can still hear the same songs in my head that they'd play on the radio at the pool over and over again. And I'd come home to a delicious summer dinner, usually something out on the grill. And sometimes the night would end with a fire outside looking at the stars. My dad would play guitar, and it was just, summers were always so wonderful. I saw friends often, I laughed, I played, I soaked up the sunshine, and I imagined and I daydreamed. There was space for wonder, time to just be, and room to breathe. And the question I kept coming back to was how can we recreate even just a sliver of that feeling in adulthood? Because, yes, we have responsibilities. We have jobs, homes to care for, and families to support. But we also crave freedom, lightness, and joy. As a kid, I was never burdened under a never ending list of tasks. I wasn't managing dozens of items or stressing about what to do with all that overflowing junk in the junk drawer. And while it's true that my parents may have been the ones actually managing the home, the feeling that I had of not being buried under stuff and stress, that was real. And what if I told you that feeling doesn't have to be left in the past? Even now that we are the adults, we're the parents taking care of the home, what if, despite that fact, every single thing that you decluttered, every habit you let go of, every daily task that you streamline or release is a step back toward that childlike joy? Decluttering isn't just about stuff, it's about freedom. And that freedom shows up in every area of life. Here are some of the things that you'll gain when you lose the stuff. Mentally, you gain clarity, focus, and a sense of calm. You're not constantly battling guilt or frustration every time you look at a pile of stuff. Instead, you'll begin sending yourself messages like, I'm in control. I know what matters to me. I have space to think, to breathe, to create. You stop being ruled by your stuff and start ruling your life. You'll enjoy more emotional regulation through feeling more feelings of joy, fulfillment, contentment, and appreciation, and less negative feelings like guilt, anger, and frustration. You make space for hobbies, for rest, and for imagination again. Your home will physically be easier to maintain through less cleaning, less housework, more physical room, and more energy for yourself. You'll sleep better. You will literally move through your space more freely because there won't be as much to run into. And you'll gain your time back. Time that was previously wasted tidying and managing objects as if you inventoried a department store. Not to mention real health effects in the form of less dust inhalation. Did you know that studies suggest that a family of 4 can accumulate up to 40 pounds of dust per year? Gross. Less clutter equals less surfaces for all that dust to accumulate. Financially, this is a big one. When you let go of clutter that's been holding you back, you financially become a more mindful consumer. You stop buying storage solutions and start letting go of what no longer serves you. You avoid repurchasing lost items and maybe even make a little money from selling things you don't need. You learn to replace that dopamine hit, otherwise known as the happy hormone, of shopping with the grounded contentment of simplifying. Finally, your relationships improve. You can say yes more easily to guests that just want to drop in, to experiences, and to rest. You give a gift to your future self and family that they won't have to clean up your clutter somewhere down the road. Maybe you've heard of Swedish death cleaning. It may sound morbid, but it actually is a beautiful sentiment and is truly a gift to your family. You create a space that feels peaceful, not just to you, but to the people you love. And here's something important to remember: decluttering isn't about perfection. It's not about creating a home that never gets messy or never needs to be tidied again. That's not realistic or even desirable. I know that I certainly have to do a tidying every night after my son goes to bed. But what we are trying to achieve is a home that, once simplified and intentionally maintained, never has to feel overwhelming again. You'll never be stuck in that chaotic cycle that leaves you overstimulated, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. Decluttering is not about achieving some magazine worthy home aesthetic. It's about reclaiming your joy, creating calm, and finding a way back to yourself again, to getting your life back. Step by step, item by item, you're moving closer to that lightness that you might also remember from childhood, the magic in the everyday. I'll see you in the next lesson.